The Triple M Grill Team.
Turn Gus, MG and Matty on 6 till 9 weekdays.
Yes, there's been 887 deaths worldwide because of the Ebola virus.
Wow.
Boys, we read today that there are no checks at Australian airports for Ebola. People are flying in from Ebola-stricken areas without any questioning.
Oh, that's crap.
Can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it.
So they're hotspots. They're coming through the world, back into Australia without a checkpoint. I know Matty's not with us today, but Matty mentioned he had what he thought was a part of swine flu coming back from Asia a couple of years ago. He got checked at every single airport.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
they had those checkpoints set up. But for Ebola, there isn't any checkpoints.
It's pretty scary. For a bit more info here, we're going to go to Greg Laden. He's a bioanthropologist from the United States. You can find his comments on the Ebola virus at scienceblogs.com, and he joins us now on the Grill Team. Greg, good morning.
Hi, how are you today?
Yeah, good, Greg. Mate, with the return of 2 US citizens who are infected with the Ebola virus, are there many people concerned about an outbreak in the US?
I don't think any health officials are concerned about it. It's actually pretty hard to get Ebola from someone else. It's not airborne. And if you saw any of the newsreels from that, the patients themselves are wearing the protective suits that sort of level 4 containment protective suits. So there's already Ebola in the U.S. It's in laboratories, and there's monkeys with Ebola that are in research and so on. And it's all handled in a way that's probably overkill, which is what you should do with something like that. And so I don't think anyone who knows anything about it is really that concerned about those 2 health workers coming back.
Okay.
You think about Ebola, it's 887 deaths, the swine flu 186, mad cow we're talking around about 210, so we're talking about 4 times the amount, but it doesn't seem to have the same sort of chat about it. You mentioned on your blog that you wrote the Ebola up as if it was a Hollywood script. Can you take us through that, Greg? It gives a bit of an understanding.
Well, that's not so much what really happened. It's just the sort of hypothetical, the version of it that people are afraid of. And somewhat legitimately is, some people with Ebola manage to get on airplanes and while they're symptomatic and they're in close quarters with other people, and you can't get it by breathing in someone else's air. But if someone is sick on, it is in an airplane, you go into the bathroom and throw up. Well, maybe you haven't done that, but someone else comes in later and contacts your bodily fluids. I think it's a reasonable risk that we should be concerned about, that people on airplanes could potentially pass it to others who then wouldn't know they had it, and then several days later they end up being in some other country with the Ebola. And that's sort of the Hollywood script version. You notice that all of the fiction written about this kind of thing, though, adds the element of airborne. They have Ebola or something mutating to become something that can be airborne, like measles or the flu. And that's an important element in that, because without that fact, even if someone did get on an airplane and someone else got it, that would be a bad thing for them. If they ended up in a place like Australia or the U.S., it would be that would be repressed immediately. They would get treatment. No one else would get it from them, and it would be immediately handled. But you're right about what you said before, that suddenly Ebola is bigger than some of the other diseases that we've been very concerned about, and yet there seems to be relatively little official response to it.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that partly it's not airborne, like SARS or the variety of the influenza variants, and also mad cow is something that has a huge impact on industry. A region that has a lot of cattle is going to, as soon as mad cow is in there, they can't sell the beef, and it has a big impact. So I'm of 2 minds of this. I think Ebola is getting, in some ways, too much attention because it really isn't going to spread and create outbreaks elsewhere, probably. But I also like to see it get more attention. I mean, I live in the U.S., and we have here, from every one of the countries affected, there's an African community right here. The man who died in Nigeria was my neighbor. I didn't know him, but,
Wow.
Wow.
his family lives here. The Liberian community here is affected by this because they go back and forth, and they have just as much family in Liberia as they have here. So I think it is a concern everyone should have, but we shouldn't panic because it really is relatively hard to spread. If this was a flu that killed 65% of the people who got it, it would be spreading because the flu spread really well. It would be a major disaster.
Well, thank God for that.
It would already be spreading out.
Well, you mentioned it going airborne there, Greg, and that this, Ebola is not airborne. It takes us to it was a great movie with Dustin Hoffman, Outbreak,
yeah,
where the new strain of Ebola mutated and became airborne. How far-fetched is that? That's not going to happen, right?
It's actually a real concern of the people who study these things. There's no known cases of it being spread from person to person airborne, but it can be airborne in other species. It appears to be possible to happen between monkeys, and there's a case of a pig that was infected with Ebola that managed to sneeze on some nearby monkeys, and they were found to have antibodies for it later. So whether or not a virus is airborne is partly whether it can survive in droplets that you sneeze out, which is not too hard to do, but it has to be abundant in the tissues in your body where when you do sneeze or cough, it has to be there. And it currently doesn't seem to do that. It's a matter of where it infects, where it reproduces. It doesn't seem to be doing that in humans. It might be. We don't have any idea how possible it is for Ebola to become airborne, but there's nothing physically stopping that. There's nothing about it that says it could never happen. It could potentially happen. It's a kind of it. I mean, for that reason, scientists who look at these things are always looking for that. They're always checking the case records to see if people might have gotten it that way. So it is a concern, and it's one of the reasons why we should be concerned about Ebola. But this outbreak is a pretty standard Ebola. It isn't airborne, and no, it's like I said, it's never been seen in humans to transmit across air from person to person.
Okay, well, hopefully that stays in Hollywood movies. Greg Laden, a bioanthropologist from the United States. His blog is scienceblogs.com. Greg, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks very much. Great talking.
The Grill Team, Gus, MG, and Matty Johns. Triple M Breakfast.